Okay, so as I'm eating this new dish that I just kind of made up is duck liver and duck skin. The duck skin is rendered, all the fat rendered out, and it's like super crispy. And then a little bit of kimchi. Love this stuff. Oh, anyways, the thing I like about, or the difference between real estate investor and then real estate professional, as real estate professional is a loaded term, because it could anybody who works in real estate technically a professional if they make money living in it. But in my mind, like a real estate professional would be like a real estate agent. There's other jobs that are kind of real estate professional as well, like title agent, or even a home inspector. But the difference between, I'm just going to make compare the two that people think of when they think of real estate. So the two they think of is an investor, a real estate investor, or a real estate agent. They're very different roles. Real estate agent, you can make a lot of money, but it's a whole different thing. It's more like a job. It's more like a service that you do in real estate. So you can service retail. You can just do the retail market, and people who buy or buy a home for themselves, they move out or something like that, or upsize, downside, basically dealing with the general public. That is in my mind, a real estate professional. But then again, a real estate investor is also a real estate professional, so to speak, because they make a lot of money. The nice thing about being a real estate investor is you can dress just like this. You can have your hair or whatever. You don't really have to worry about it. So, I go to this investors group every week, and sometimes twice a week, and we all look like this. We don't dress up. And many people in the room are multi millionaires. It has nothing to do with the way they dress. It's with the knowledge and what they know. With a real estate professional and agent, because the word professional, you gotta look professional. Then you got a suit on and all that stuff, and I do that as well. So I have, when I go out and see a client and all that stuff, I wear like a nice polo, or a button-down shirt and a suit jacket. Get everything done, even a name tag, because that's what the people expect. They expect that you know everything about real estate and all the rule, regulation, and all that stuff. You should know enough. I mean, or you should know where to find these answers. If you don't know right offhand. But anyway, that's basically the difference between a real estate agent and a real estate investor. Now, for income wise, you have the whole range. There are many very well-to-do real estate agents. They're in the millions. They make millions of dollars a year. And so there is the same thing with real estate investors. There's some making very little money and lose money doing it, and some of them are making great money. The difference between the two is that the running joke is that real estate agent, you never go to a real estate agent's retirement party, because they work for the rest of their life. They never stop, so they don't retire. It's a joke, but you can, if you're not careful. That's all you do is you run clients and list properties, and you live from deal to deal, and you never have a chance to save up or invest. Same thing with real estate investor. The majority of them, you know, out getting some deals, and many of them never succeed. But the one that do, you don't need a whole lot. Okay. From my experience, you need about 10 units, and it depends on how your lifestyle too. Let me take another bite. But for your lifestyle, if you live a decent lifestyle and you're not really lavish and have a bunch of exotic cars or whatever, you can live with 10 units and a decent car, and you literally do not have to work again. That's real estate. But it does, it is a system, so you have to learn how to save up on the side for what I call the oh shit moment, or the oh shit account rather, because sometimes something happens and you're like, oh shit, what happened? At least you have account, start with 5% of the income, but at some time, as you go, if you have less properties, the percentage has to be higher, because one property, if your air conditioner goes out, that's $8,000 to $10,000, and you don't have that saved up because you save such a little percentage. Well, you have to be out of pocket, right? But if you have 100 units or 1,000 units, then the percentage that you save per unit is much lower. So that's just how it goes. I mean, you can literally have an account sit on the side just for these kind of things. You can get your own kind of self-insured, on that level, just to maintain it. But I thought it would be nice to kind of compare the two and tell people about the business a little bit. I've been in both, and I've also done a lot of contracting myself. The reason is I was one of those guys that if I want to do something right, I do it myself kind of guy, DIY. So I end up learning everything about building a house and fixing everything. I swapped out windows and fixed roofs and of course leaky sink or toilets and all that stuff, everything. I tear down houses down to the joists and then build it back up. So it took a lot of time. But then I realize now I really don't need that. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that they're very talented and they like being a contractor, and they're very good at it. I didn't trust people, and that was my problem. It has nothing to do with I needed to know. I really don't need to know if I have the people that I trust. Because think about it, I didn't have to learn title work to do my title. I didn't have to learn how to do a million different other things. But I thought contracting was something that I was able to pick up and learn. And the other thing with that is, the reason I did that is that it gets a little bit frustrating because contractors are all different levels. Some people they barely swing a hammer and they call themselves contractor because they need a job. But some of them are very, very good and learn from the masters and all that stuff. So the problem with starting out in real estate is that you go and you hire a contractor, and then you don't know what you're doing. So you have no idea if that guy's bullshitting you or not. So as newbies or people who are not handy, they hire contractor based on price, or if they like them or not. I have no idea the skill of the contractor. So if you hire on based on price, the chances are you're getting a bad contractor is very, very high, because the good contractors, they have no fear about charging you the amount because they're busy. They're like, look, you don't want to, that's fine. They're gonna go to the next job. But the guys who are not good or just starting out, they're fearful they lose the job, so they're gonna bid lower so they can get the job. So they basically get the job and they learn it on your property. They practice on your property, and a lot of time, because you are new and you have no skill in contracting, so you can't tell if the guys did a good job or not, and that's the problem. And then and then you get very upset when it's not done right, it failed inspection or whatever. So it's not regulated, and because all the houses are hand built. Okay, I don't care what the entire, like all the houses that I ever worked on, they were all hand built. So everybody built them a little differently. Yeah, there's codes and all this stuff, but if you get a good builder and they have good crews, chances are that the house is going to stay out in there for 100 years. Certain things might go wrong with it, but the roof got to be replaced 25, 30 years later or something like that. I've seen windows that are hundreds of years old in these old antique houses, and they're perfectly plumb and fine. But the successful investors or successful real estate agents, they all have somebody who teach them. They learn from somebody. I mean, you can learn it on your own, obviously, but it takes you forever. So mentorship is the fastest way of getting there. With real estate investors, mentorship, basically you have to build a relationship first, like a friend, and then you offer your work, you offer the work for them or something like that, and then work with them or find the deals, and they hold your hand through it, and that's how you get it done. With being a real estate agent, all the different companies, most of the time, they required you to have a mentor, and the mentor usually is somebody senior in the company. And if they get along with you and they're good at teaching you and all that stuff, then that's great. But also you don't need to stay with that one mentor. You can be in that company. You can have multiple mentors if you want. I think at the end of the day, you have to realize that you're going to learn from the people, and then learn what they tell you, but you can't just trust them altogether. You have to kind of use it and test it out, and if it works for you, great. If it doesn't, then you have to figure out how to implement it, because the market changes all the time. So once the market changes, whatever they told you, it might be no longer work. So for us, like when we first started out in early 2023, the market was going up. So anything we did was great. Like we bought a place, we didn't even clean up, but we just sweep it out and it's already worth more than what we paid for it. We're like, this is so easy. But as the market changed later on, 2008, 2009, where it started crashing, like it doesn't matter what you do with the property, nobody wants it. So, and the value was dropping real low, and the property was on the market was, they owe more than what the market is actually worth. I mean, the property is actually worth. So then we have to negotiate to get the price down with the bank, and the bank will take a short. Basically, they will take less for what the homeowner owes. So the homeowner owes, let's say, 100,000, but now the house market dropped to like 50%. So now the property is only worth 50,000. And I go in and I make an offer at 40,000 because I'm like, I'm not living there. I'm gonna have to rehab it and all that stuff. And the bank, look at the condition in the market and condition of the house, and they agree. So different market, you have different strategies. So when people are coaching you, you have to kind of see if they're coming from what perspective. If they cut their teeth on the up market, so everything's great, everything's easy, blah blah blah. But if they cut their teeth on a lower, like going down, they thinking the market is going to drop any minute. Now, of course, these professionals gone through many different ups and downs of the market, so they know. But just gotta kind of, figure out where your mentor is coming in from, what direction they're, and what their perspective is in the business. Because some people now, they're older, and they kind of, on their way out, and they just kind of have very, very just simple strategy. They will tell you, just stick around the little, your sphere. So many of these realtors, now they're older, they only concentrate on the people around them, because that's they built a reputation, everybody knows who they are, and that's their advice to you, right? You're like, okay, well, all the people around me, they know that I am not a realtor. They know 10 other realtors that are way better than me. So that strategy might not work for you if you're a new realtor. So, what strategy would you use then? You would have to use a market strategy. Basically, you market the team. Like, oh, yeah, I'm amazed of my team. They're, sold 100 million last year together, and I can't believe that I have access to all of these people. And some of them are real estate investors, some of them are commercial, some of them do land, some of them do development, some of them, do new build, some of them do trailers and blah, blah, blah. So you have, in order for you to market yourself as a new agent and earn trust, you have to know your team, because they trust you because they know you, but they have to trust you that you have backup people who help you if you get in trouble. Because nobody wants to go to get your dental work done or something like that with a doctor or somebody who taught themselves. They didn't go to school, they have no mentor. Well, real estate school, yeah, you take the test and all that stuff, but none of that really matter until you start working. So when you start working, that's your real school, and you being schooled by the people that take you under their arms, kind of under their wings, kind of thing. So in order for you as a new agent, that's what you do. You just have to get in with a good team, okay? And sometimes it's literally a team. Like you will just do like one thing in that team. You will just run buyers, and you just meet the buyers. You open the doors. You greet them. You do that, whatever that team asks you to do as far as your part of the job. That's in a structure, in a different structure. Many of them are a little different. It depends on how big the team is and all that stuff, because sometimes a team member might do more than one role, because the team is not big enough. They're just basically collaborating and working together. So they were like, hey, you know what? I can't show the house this week. Can you show it? Or, oh, I can't do the listing. Can you help me? And they would just kind of like, work together as a team. But some team that have very, very structured setup, it's basically you're a buyer agent. That's all you do. You do the buyer's part. Like you run the buyer, you do all the contract on the buyer side and everything. You make sure the mortgage is good and all that stuff. Inspection, all those things. Listing agent, all they do is the set appointment. They go out, they meet the seller, and they pitch the deal, and they get a listing. They come back, and they hand it over, and the admin, does all the paperwork and put the property up on the on MLS, and then they may or may not deal with the property after that. Some do, some don't. Some, if they get an offer or something like that, and they step back in and take it the rest of the way. But sometimes when the offer comes in, another person handled it. So it's a very flexible kind of business, and you can figure out what you like to do. But at the beginning, give yourself room, cut yourself some slacks, because it's a lot to learn, and there's a lot of psychology involved as well. So it's like being a realtor is almost like being a therapist. A therapist and a financial advisor, kind of all rolled into one, and a little bit of a lawyer. I mean, not too much. But that's kind of, it depends on what your strong suit is. But being with people is definitely the key. And also, you can't really just say, oh, I'm going to work from 9 to 5. It doesn't work that way. Because other people, your clients, sometimes they work from 9 to 5. And the only time they have to deal with the real estate is after 5 or on weekends. So with being a real estate agent, you got to be a little bit more flexible, do your personal stuff during the day or whatever, and maybe extend 2 hours into the evening, like to about 7 o'clock. After 7, I draw the line. It's like, okay, you get off at 5. You work a full-time job. You're my client. You get off at 5. I say, fine. You got 2 hours. We can pretty much solve a lot of things in 2 hours. So we schedule everything in from 5 to 7. But after that, it's my time. I do look at some emails and stuff like that in the evening after 7. If it's a deal that kind of important, you can't just kind of let it go like that. So I would, take a look at it and see if there's anything that I've missed during the day and stuff like that. But I don't go out, I don't show house, I don't do anything unless it's planned upon. So, that's all they can do is let's say you have a client from out of town, and they're only here for 3 days. You're like, okay, for that, you might want to make an exception and say, you know what, you're only here for 3 days. 2 of those days, I want to show you as many properties as possible, even into the evening. That's not every time. So, that's the thing about being a real estate agent. Now, a real estate investor, it's not a job. It's a lifestyle. You live it. You live it, breathe it, because you have no idea where you're gonna find the next deal. Of course, there are systems in place, door knocking and bird dogs and people who, the wholesalers and other agents that you know. They send you automated emails and all that stuff. But as a real estate investor, you basically, you're like a civilian, which you dress like civilian, and you talk like one, and you don't use any kind of like, technical jargon, because you want to gain trust from the seller. And usually that's where you make your money, because you, as real estate investor, you make money when you buy it. Okay, you buy it right, you make money. You buy it wrong, you lose money. That's as simple as that. Now, after you buy it, now you can still lose money if you don't know how to handle the deal right, because if you buy the property that's worth 100,000, you buy it right at 50,000. So now you got a spread at 50,000 in the middle, but you end up spending more than $50,000 before you put it back on the market, or you miscalculated some stuff, like you forgot to put in the realtor's listing price at the end, listing what's that called? Listing fees, the 3%, the 6%. So compensation. So you have to add all those things in, and you still make money. So in order for you to make money at like $100,000 house, you probably have to buy it like 30 or 20,000 even, because it depends on the condition of the house. Because unless the condition of the house is kind of nice, and you just come in and do a nice coat of paint or something like that, in that kind of situation, you can probably wholesale it. You sell it out discount for a landlord or somebody who will buy it. This way you save money on the commission. Okay, so 100,000, 6%, that's $6,000 that you just saved. Okay, but you're selling it lower, but also you don't have to fix it up as much. Okay, so you buy low, you sell low, and that's sort of like a wholesaling strategy. Wholesaling is a whole other video that I have to talk about. But so as far as the real estate investor, now real estate investor can have they can wear different hats, like myself. So I'm a real estate investor, but I also have license. So I can use my license to buy property and all that stuff, and my knowledge, or I can, because I'm handy and learn how to do a lot of the work, I can be my own contractor as well. Not recommended, obviously, because but people do it all the time. Let's say you just bought the one house. Okay, after you bought it, you're not going to sit around and wait for somebody else to fix it or pay somebody else to fix it. If you know how to fix it, and that's the only deal that you have, you might as well fix it. And that's totally fine. If you buy it with the intention of hiring somebody to fix it, then what you do is you will make sure before you buy it, you walk through with your contractor, the one that you trust, and he will most of the time is he. I only met one female contractor all my 25 years, and she actually worked for a company, so she's actually not technically a contractor. But anyway, so he will walk through with you and then estimate how much the repair is. And if he knows what he's doing, he's going to estimate a little higher just in case they find some other stuff. So then you can you can trust him with the budget. So go back to that same house. The house is worth 100,000 at the end. You're gonna walk with him, and he's gonna say, "Oh yeah, I need $5,000 worth of work." You're like, "Okay, well, I think that's gonna work because holding costs, closing costs, and all that stuff of buying the property, it's gonna cost you some money on top of if you borrow money as well. If you borrow money from a bank or a hard money lender or friends and family or something like that, you still have to, it costs you to borrow that money. You have to pay them backwards plus something. And then holding it. So when you hold it, you got to pay taxes and your insurance and electric and utilities and all that stuff. Got to turn on, got to turn off, blah blah blah. So all of that costs money. So even though you buy it at 50,000 and it's only take your contractor only estimated for 5,000. Okay, 55. But then how much is closing costs? How much is holding costs? How much is all this other stuff that you need to consider? And then are you holding it? Are you gonna keep it? Your exit strategy. What are you doing with it? So but let's just say by the time it's all done, I'm just making easy math. It's cost you 60,000. So let's say $5,000 for closing costs and another $5,000 to fix everything up. $50,000 pay for it. Now you got the house for 60,000 ready to go, and you're gonna sell it at 100. So when you sell it, you put it on the market for 100, you're gonna have to pay closing costs. You gotta pay closing costs. You gotta pay for the agents, and then taxes and all this other stuff. So $6,000. That's 6%. For the two sides of the agent. So that's already $6,000, and you're down to 94,000. And then it depends on how long you hold that property. You might have to add on more costs because the longer you hold it, the more it costs you with taxes and holding costs. And then once okay, so when they make an offer, they don't always make a full offer. So they make an offer a little bit below, on $2,000, $5,000 below. It depends on what you want. But whatever they make below that, then that's money that you have to take off the bottom line, right? So, like let's say they make a $95,000 offer and you decide to take it. Then you have to work backward from 95. So you see how fast your split or your profit starts shrinking. Okay? And once you finish with all of that, whatever's left, I'm kind of itchy here. Whatever's left, let's say is left, $30,000 left. It's pretty good. It's a good payday. But then now, because it's a short-term investment, you have to pay taxes on it, and that's your short-term tax is much higher than long-term tax. Between short-term and long-term, short-term is anything less than a year. So you buy a property, and then within a year you sold it. That's short-term, but 1 year and 1 day, now it's a different tax bracket. Okay, so if you do that, there's a little bit more tax deduction, and you're in a different a long-term tax bracket. Talk to your CPA about that. I can't give you that advice. But what else? So with real estate investor, you have the other one is a passive real estate investor. So there's active and passive. Active, the person who's out there looking for the deal, negotiating it, doing all that stuff. Passive, basically, you are a private person who meets somebody who is a really good investor, and then you give them the money. You say, here's my money. You do it. Just pay me back X, Y, a certain amount or whatever, and you have an agreement. It could be long term. It could be short term. It could be, you can be like a hard money lender. Um, hard money lender is a little bit tricky too, because you need to know if your investor knows what they're doing. Because if they pay too much for the property and they can't sell it later on, which I've helped many investor to get out of the situation because they miscalculated and they got stuck, and yada yada yada. But basically, passive income is you're not actually out hustling doing the real estate part. You just do the lending part, or you put money in a pool, and everybody the trusted crew investor will take the money and invest it, and then pay you in like dividends every month. And then let's say you agree 12% a year. So what they do is every month for 12% a year for 1 year loan. So every month they give you 1% of whatever your money is. 12 months, 12%. Okay? And at the end of the 12th month, they write you the check, the same amount that you wrote them to begin with, your principal. And then you start all over again in another house or another deal. Sometimes they say 12% a year, but they sold the property in 6 months. So technically you only get 6%. Okay? That's how that works. But sometimes they go beyond that. Then you have you say, okay, well, I want my money back. I don't have it. It's stuck. So now you have a choice. You're trying to take over the property, which, it could be messy, or you can extend it, or you can raise, or in the calculation or the original agreement, say if you pass the 12 months and you don't pay me back, now I want 14% or 20% or whatever it is. It goes up like crazy. The reason they do something like that is just to make sure that the borrower is motivated to sell, just to get out. Sometimes they can get greedy and they turn down deals, but if they know they have to get out in 12 months, otherwise it's going to cost them more money, so they get out faster. But that's kind of a passive way. The other passive way is basically you invest into this big real estate company. REITs, they own thousands and thousands of homes or apartments, and then you can invest with them. That it's a little lower, but a lot safer, because the properties are very big, and the people who doing on that level, they know what they're doing. So, but they're not going to offer you much higher than what you can get from the bank or something like that. It's a little bit higher. It depends. It depends on the deal. But basically, that's in the rough frame of thing. That's the difference between a real estate agent and a real estate investor. But you can be both. You can be one or the other. So a lot of people, do a lot of different roles, but there's nothing wrong with that. At the end of the day, you just gotta, get in with the right team, with the right people. The people who are not trying to take advantage of you, the people who want to grow with you and work together. But you have to bring your A game. You can't just blame people, or you can't just go, oh, you know what, I put the money in, now where's my money? Or oh, I put the money in and I don't want to work. So I know some investors, they're coming in like, oh yeah, I'm the one who, write all the checks. So then everybody else kind of like have to do all the work and everything. Well, if that's true, you have to make sure that that's the agreement. Because, when you partner up, you do a JV, it's a joint venture. When you do a joint venture with somebody, you have to have an agreement with them. This is what you're gonna do. This is what I'm gonna do. Da 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 da. All that stuff. It depends on what you're comfortable doing. But some investor that I know uh, has no idea about these things, and they rush out. They buy a property using their IRA or using their savings and stuff like that. Start writing checks and start demanding, people to do this or that, and nobody wants to work for them because he's a jackass. Why do you want to work with people who have no respect or they don't understand you? So I have to kind of sit them down and say, look, these people are professionals. You work with them, you need respect. You have respect because these people, you're not the only guy in town, okay? These people have other choices, or they will take your job, they will work, but they put it in the back burner. So they only work on your house when they don't have anything else to do. Okay? So they prioritize other jobs on top of yours, even if the other job comes in later. But let's say they take your job and you treat them bad. They're not gonna say anything. The phone ring. Somebody else had just a small little job, change out a bathtub or something like that. It's gonna take them a week. Guess what? They're there. Okay? They're there for a week, and they're gonna grab that job, and your job is now delayed because you being a jackass and you treat them bad, and then you nickel and dime them, like, oh, can you do this and can you do that? I spent too much money already, blah blah blah. Well, whose fault is that? It's not their fault that you spent too much money or you bought the wrong thing or you bought the wrong house or whatever. It's your fault. So suck it up and treat people professionally, and they will treat you with, respect. That if you hired the right people. You hired the wrong people, they still screw you up. And I've seen that too. So, having said all of that, of course, there are many, many good people out there, very professional, and they, back their word with high quality work, and they never late. And I know friends of mine, they're very good, and they never go over the budget they quote you. Okay, these are professionals. Because even if it go over a little bit, they're like, nope, I'm not charging you extra, because I told you that this is a $10,000 job, and it go to 11,000. It's still going to be a $10,000 job. Okay, guys like these exist. I work with them all the time, and those are the people that I bring on all my deals because I know I can count on them. Some guys, they're just kind of like real loose. Oh yeah, it's, I don't know, 8,000, maybe 12,000. I don't know. Get it in writing and make sure they stay within range, because the guys who don't know, because they leaving a door open for them to move up. Okay. Even if some of these people, and I know, the job end up at 8,000, but because it's a range, they still try to charge you 10,000. Okay, now not everybody's like this, of course. I'm just giving you different people and how they do business. So be careful with that. But the guy or the girl or the company that give you an estimate that totally off, and that happens a lot because they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. They just kind of like figure it out as they go. So if just for example, you hire them to fix a wall, right? 8 feet wide and then 8 feet tall, basically the same like a regular house. So that wall, I'm making it real simple, but it can have, it can be a load bearing wall. It can have like electric going in there. It can plumbing in there, and it can have AC, air conditioning vents. That's all in there. Now, if they don't know what they're doing, they're gonna measure it and they're gonna just calculate the wall as it is. And when they open it up and they're like, oh my God, there's all this stuff in there. Now you have to reroute the air conditioner vent and have to go up the attic and go all over the place, and and then the same thing with electric and plumbing and all this stuff. All of a sudden, a $500 job now is like an $8,000 job because they don't know what they're doing. And they say, well, I can't see through walls. I can't. See, the guys that I work with, they know this stuff. They're like, this is a load bearing wall. Based on where the air conditioning is, most likely the vent is in this wall. The electrical, all that stuff. They know if the electrical running from the attic down or from the bottom up. It depends on the house. So then, they're going to give you an $8,000 estimate. And you go, well, the other guy gave me 500. You trying to rip me off with 8,000. Well, try the cheap guys, and then you get burnt. See, the other problem is not even that. You hired the guy that give you a $500 estimate. He opened it up and realized that he can't do the job. He's gone. You only give him half of the money up front, $250. He's gone. You can't find him. You just lost $250 and your house is busted up. Now you have to bring another professional in, and that professional, it depends. If the first guy who didn't know what he's doing, if he damaged your house somehow, well, the second guy has to come in and correct what the first guy did wrong, and then have to do the job. And now instead of it $8,000, now it's $10,000 job. See, I see this all the time, and the people who doing this don't realize this. The homeowners, they don't realize this, and new investors, they don't know, and that's a lot of time. They lose a lot of money doing this. That's why some people cannot be successful out of the gate, because they don't have an experienced team behind them. Somebody who knows what they're doing, have done, like, I've done that on my own deals, but there was this one house that we own. Just take a nice little kitchen, and there's just a little wall outside, just kind of closing the kitchen. So obviously, to me, it wasn't a load bearing wall. I know that for a fact. But when I open it up, it has all kinds of plumbing and vent and all that stuff in there. I didn't account for that. But it was not a big deal. I got my electrician, my plumber, and people, and rerouted all the stuff, but it costs extra. So that's just how it is. Anyways, it's going on 50 minutes or more. So my food is getting cold, and let's talk again sometime soon. Okay? And have fun in real estate.